those things aside, what is the trouble with light? That's the title of the sermon. I don't see any trouble. Did anybody see any trouble with all those verses? Oh, wait a minute. Are you sure? If we walk in the light, a problem arises. And you know what that problem is? All our imperfections are laid bare. It's contrary to our flesh, because when we can't hide our natures from others or ourselves when we're bathed in His brilliant glory. So I don't know if in it. Okay, let's look at the way the Bible puts it. For everyone that doth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved. In other words, what's reproved mean? Yeah, or he's told that they're wrong, tried to show a better way, punished. Right. So now we see the problem with light. Is if we love evil, then the light presents a problem for us, doesn't it? So what exactly does that mean? Well, I think there's another way that I'd like to put it. And that is, when we come to Jesus, there's only two reactions. Right? Now, the first reaction is that we see ourselves terribly imperfect when we're standing close to Him. Right? Right? Whenever we stand in the presence of Christ, we see our imperfections and we hate it. We hate Him for it. And then the second one is that we love Him with great adoration and we desire to become more like Him. Those are the two reactions, right? Well, so what makes the difference between these two types of people? Why would one love and want to be more like that perfect person, and the other hate and want to just push that away and go back into the darkness? What is the difference? Well, those that are angry, before they came into the presence of Christ, they thought they were something. They thought a lot of themselves, right? That's the only thing that could explain why all of a sudden they're troubled by all this light. Pharisees, anybody that has this particular mindset. And then, of course, those who are full of adoration, they knew that they weren't perfect, right? They started out with that understanding. And so whenever they approach Christ, they have a teachable heart. Because they're like, hey, I know I'm not perfect. Right? Okay. So, in truth, these two people boil down to two things. Pride and humility. Right? Yeah, let's look at a couple verses for this. Because the Bible is really what we should center everything on, right? Proverbs 11:2, when pride cometh, then cometh shame. But with the lowly is wisdom. Lowly meaning humble, right? Let's look at another one. A man's pride shall bring him low. Now listen to this. We were talking about people being humble. Now we're saying that a man's pride will actually make him low. It'll tear him down sooner or later. But honor shall uphold the humble in spirit.
I want you to read pride on that screen. Look at that screen. Look at pride. What's the middle letter?
I. Yeah, that's true. I is in the middle of pride. That's right. Okay, so hey, have you ever noticed that when something evil is done, it's usually behind closed doors. It's usually in the dark. It's away from the light. Now there's some people that do things out in the open, but I'd say that that's because they're pretty well gone. I mean, you know, but that everybody has hope, I guess. But anyway, also, has anybody ever used a vanity mirror? Come on, ladies. No, not in this church.
Yeah, well, you're doing the same thing I did. You're picking on the gender.
No, I'm just saying that ladies use. Well, whenever I was in drama in high school.
She's back that way from Nancy says she's
You did. Whenever I was in drama in high school, we had vanity mirrors backstage, and it has all those light bulbs so that you can see every imperfection in your face. And you go in there and you put the makeup on, you know, to hide those imperfections, right? So again, you see that the light shows us the truth. It shows the truth of who we are and who he is. I want to talk about this guy here. Anybody recognize him?
That must be you.
You don't? No, that's not me. You don't recognize him because you don't know him. But I went to high school with this guy. He was in the 12th grade and 11th grade, while I was in the 10th and 11th. But anyway, we had art class together. This guy could draw anything. I mean, people would give him a real picture of a person, and he would sit down and he'd mark off his paper and sketch it out, and it looked just like a black and white photo if he used a pencil. I mean, it was amazing. And so my reaction, not puffing myself up, it just happens to be something I did, but my reaction was to sit down next to him and watch. And I would get my paper out and I would do my pitiful looking drawings, and I would watch him while he drew. And by mirroring and kind of learning from his techniques, my art improved. You see a parallel here? This is how Mrs. White puts it. Those who make Christ their daily companion and familiar friend will feel that the powers of an unseen world are all around them. And by looking unto Jesus, they will become assimilated to his image. By beholding, they become changed to the divine pattern. Their character is softened, refined, and ennobled for the heavenly kingdom. This is some of my favorite texts by her, because, you know, I've said it before, by beholding you are changed. Look at this one. Brethren and sister, it is by beholding that we become changed, by dwelling upon the love of God and our Savior, by contemplating the perfection of the divine character, and claiming the righteousness of Christ as ours by faith, we are to be transformed into the same image. So again, it's like when I sat next to Chris, that was the guy's name, I don't know if you caught it. When I sat next to Chris, my art was made better by being around him, right? The Bible puts it another way, 2 Corinthians 3:18. But we all, with open face, beholding as in a glass the glory of the Lord, are changed into the same image from glory to glory, even as by the Spirit of the Lord. So this is not just Mrs. White's teaching, this is a biblical teaching, right? Of course, we know her teachings are biblical. Anyway, so when we see Christ's goodness with a humble heart, right, we desire to be like him. When we view him while we read the Gospels, when we view him helping people and healing people, we long to do the same thing. That's why it's so important, and I'm talking to myself here, that's why it's so important for us to dwell and to just absorb the Gospels. You know, those are paramount in our studies of the Bible. I mean, I know we love the Old Testament, and there's pictures of Jesus in the Old Testament. But we really need to concentrate on the Gospels too, don't we? That needs to be a concentration. You know the old saying, you are what you eat? You know, what's true of the stomach is true of the mind and the heart, right? Right? What you take in, it becomes a part of you. And I'm preaching to myself. Because there's some things that we watch, some things that we listen to, some things that we concentrate on. I say concentrate on because, you know, we might get on to a person for watching bad movies. We might get on to a person for listening to bad music. But do we ever get on to people for concentrating on bad subjects? You know, sitting around, oh boy, I tell you. Oh, you know, that can make a miserable person. You can't show Christ in your life if you're sitting next to the worldly person going, boy, I tell you. There's one guy, I love him, and I didn't include his picture. I didn't even know I was going to talk about it. But every time I talk to him, he's like, look at that guy over there. Boy, you know. And I know he's a Christian. He's concentrating on the wrong thing.